sometimes we have to go through life, but ultimately anyone that's going through anything right now, trust us when we tell you life happens for you and not to you.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Thrive State Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kian Vu, aka Dr. V, triple board certified MD and performance and longevity expert. And I want to invite you again on this journey of self-development, of up-leveling ourselves with a very, very special guest today. Now, when you see him come on, before he even says anything, you'll feel a certain vibration, a certain frequency of positivity emanating from him. And that's something we're going to tap in on today. You're going to learn how to tap into a high vibrational frequency version of yourself. Because like I mentioned before, and he also says this too, you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. You attract your being. You attract the frequency that you give off. And that energy, that frequency, that message not only goes outside, to the people you interact with, but you learn in my book, Thrive State, that energy and frequency goes inside into your cells as well. That beingness, that emotional feeling, that state talks to your cells. If you are in a negative emotional state, if you are in emotional states of anger, hurt, resentment, hate, anger, you actually speak to your cells and it actually thinks that you are in stress. So the stress hormones go up, cortisol goes up, inflammation goes up, immunity goes down. Then you get suboptimal cells that give you suboptimal tissues, then suboptimal organs and suboptimal systems. And guess what? That's when chronic symptoms happen, and that's when chronic disease happens. But if you can cultivate having the emotions of gratitude lead you, the emotions of joy, of mirth, of laughter, of connection, those are actually anti-aging hormones. And those hormones help with healing. Those hormones actually lower inflammatory markers such as IL-6 and TNF-alpha. And yes, it will also raise your immune system. So learning how to cultivate and become a high vibrational person is of utmost importance. And this guy is going to help you do it. You will learn so much here. And he's also a leader in the confidence space. And at the end, he's also a thought leader in the confidence space. How do you gain more confidence? Find out a little bit more about how to get that with this toolkit that you'll see in the show notes today. So you're not going to want to miss this. Now, before I introduce who this person is, I want to ask you, has this podcast given value to you? Have you listened to this and has this allowed you to take your life to the next level? Are there actionable steps that you've heard in the podcast that you can take each and every day to improve yourself? If so, please support this podcast by leaving a review at ratethispodcast.com/Thrive State. And yes, we always talk about the Thrive State. And if you haven't already, pick up a copy of my book, Thrive State, at thrivestatebook.com. And if you want to learn a little bit more, get into our community, get into the course, take the Thrive State Accelerator by going to kianvu.com/accelerator and using the code podcast25 to get 25% off the online course. Now, for my next guest, I have with you Craig Siegel. He is a value-based and high-energy keynote speaker and a rising thought leader. He's been featured in Entrepreneur Magazine, and he is endorsed by some of the world's most well-known celebrities, entertainers, athletes, and entrepreneurs, including Rob Dyrdek, Ed Milet, Bethany Hamilton, Suzanne Summers, Alicia Silverstone, and NFL Hall of Famer Brian Dawkins. When the pandemic hit, Craig felt guided and left his lucrative job in Wall Street and went all in on his passion and purpose to help people upgrade their mindset and fulfill their potential. His unique ability combines energy, motivation, inspiration, charisma, and business success has led to a meteoric rise of the Cultivate Lasting Symphony, or CLS, a contagious, never before seen explosion that impacted millions of lives worldwide. Look, everybody knows removing limiting beliefs is the key to success in all areas of life. Most people feel unworthy, and Craig actually helps remove those negative beliefs cultivated over time and implement positive and constructive thoughts, and then create powerful and positive beliefs which will change their behavior and ultimately create brand new results in their relationships, in their business, and basically all facets of life. This is why you want to listen to this guy. This is why you're also going to be elevated to a higher frequency when you hang out with this guy like I did. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy my conversation with Craig Siegel.
This stuff is pretty new to me. I'll be honest with you. I was always a mindset guy, but this stuff is much more advanced. And the bottom line is you have to be available for it. You can't walk around feeling like crap and expect great things to manifest from the universe. That's not how it works, because you don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you are. And what you are is what you're able to sustain vibrationally. Right. And so I make a conscious effort to be very mindful of my thoughts. I know that they are things. I know that they create new beliefs and so forth. And you would know this better than anybody. Like, negative thoughts actually cause and create cortisol, which causes inflammation in the body.
Oh, wow, you're not even a doctor, brother. You know, brother.
and that's why people are actually addicted to suffering, because they're producing so much cortisol and so forth. So I'm aware of that. So now there's really no excuses, right? So you have to understand that we're all meant to be infinite. We're all one, whether it's God or this infinite field of energy. And then it's the ego, it's scarcity, or if you believe in good versus evil, then it's evil that tries to divide us and tell us you're not worthy, you're not capable, you do have limitations. But that's not true. We are. We just have to become a match for all the abundance that we desire. For so long, I wasn't a match, whether it be relationships, profession, whatever the case would be. I wasn't available. But now I understand to operate on that frequency, you open up the doors to continuously receiving great opportunities and so forth. So it comes down to awareness and then obviously being open and available for all.
You know, a lot of people operate from what's called the default mode network. This is actually a primitive part of the brain that operates when you're not in flow, you're in this thing called the default mode network. And the default mode network, most of the stuff you get in utero all the way up till the age of 7, what's in there? Your traumas, your hurt, abandonment, resentment, all these things. And it remembers those negative things more than others. And this default mode network is there to keep you safe. It's there to help you survive. The default mode network is also what you remember. If you touch a stove and it's hot and you pull your hand back, your default mode network is doing it just so because it's automatic. And that's a part of you that's used to keep you safe. And it kind of goes on in the back of your mind. So having the awareness, are you operating from that space? Or are you operating from a space of your choosing, a space of your creation? And I think, my friend, having awareness is so key. Is there something in your morning routine or something that you do throughout the day to make sure you are operating in this higher vibrational state and not operating from these old patterns that are limiting?
This episode of the Thrive State Podcast is brought to you by the Thrive State Accelerator. The Thrive State Accelerator is actually a home course that I developed using the exact same techniques I work with my celebrity clients, CEOs, and executives on how to get them to the Thrive State. The Thrive State Accelerator teaches you how to master your 7 bioenergetic elements. That's sleep, nutrition, movement, stress and emotional mastery, relationships, our thoughts and mindset, as well as purpose. In this Thrive State Accelerator, you're also going to get a bonus module on optimization. That's how I talk about supplementation, peptides, all the optimization techniques I use with my clients to get them to the Thrive State. Now, for some of you who are just joining us for the first time, you guys might be wondering, what is the Thrive State? Well, the Thrive State is actually the energy, the epigenetic environment we give to ourselves, telling our DNA how to act and how to respond. And if we want optimal health, longevity, and peak performance, if we can master these 7 bioenergetic elements, our ability to have those 3 things that we just said, optimal health, longevity, and peak performance, is at its greatest. And it also prevents you from getting chronic symptoms like brain fog, being overweight, feeling sluggish, acne, pain, all these chronic symptoms, as well as preventing you from getting chronic disease. So getting to that thrive state is really getting to that state to master being that very best version of yourself so you could show up for you, for your family, for your business, everything that's important to you. So go ahead, check it out right now at kianvu.com/accelerator and use coupon code podcast25 for 25% off. Now back to the podcast.
And look, I'm a human being, right? So over the course of the day, we'll get those negative random thoughts. And just to be clear, like thoughts are random, thinking is not. So you can be strategic on which thoughts you allow to take up real estate inside your head. So whenever I get those negative thoughts now, I say, I'm sorry, I'm not available for that bullshit. Get the hell out of here. I'm only available for the abundance, for the positivity, for the good stuff, for the optimism and so forth. And so I'm consciously just staying in this frequency. And like you mentioned, high vibe, like this is tough, but life is full of tough choices. I am very intentional with who I surround myself with. And even the people like from my old life, like from 2 years ago, because I feel like I've lived more in the last year and a half than I had the previous 35 combined since I really evolved and reinvented myself. A lot of those people I don't spend time with anymore. And it's nothing personal, so to speak. It's just that I'm not on their frequency anymore. I don't have so much in common. I want to have conversations like this. These are my dinner conversations. So all day long, like I'm not only staying physically fit, but I'm staying mentally fit. And I'm not available for the chaos, for the ego. And what about this paradigm? Perhaps the most egotistical thing we can ever say is that we're not worthy. And so when you look at it like that, like we are meant to be infinite. We have to block out the interference. So I'm just no longer available for any type of negativity, straight up.
Am I playing a program that I've been living for the past, couple of years and decades?
But you know what it is? Like you bring up such a good point. Like you don't have to wait for a trauma, but like so much easier said than done, right? Like for me, I was in so much emotional pain, brother. Like I was, do I dare say suffering? Like I was miserable. Like I would wake up on a Monday, even if it was my own business, and I was just like, I would look forward to the weekends. And I knew, I'm like, life is not supposed to be like this. Even in my previous relationship, like it felt like so out of alignment. Like it wasn't real. And as soon as I started asking myself the challenging questions, okay, well, what would make you happy? Right. And then you start leaning into that. The universe likes that because that's when we're moving forward on what our calling is. And then doors begin to open and the seas begin to part. And that's when you become available for the creative divine downloads, and you're a match for abundance, so to speak. So I was definitely in a lot of pain, and you were in physical pain, but sometimes we have to go through life. But ultimately, anyone that's going through anything right now, trust us when we tell you life happens for you and not to you.
If you enjoyed those highlights from this week's episode of the Thrive State podcast, if you want to check out the full episode, go to Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are heard. Now, if this podcast has given you value, you could really support us by giving us a 5-star review at ratethispodcast.com/Thrive State. Also, if you haven't already picked up a copy of my book, Thrive State, you can get free chapters if you go to thrivestatebook.com. And if you love the content, you want to go a little bit deeper with me and my team, take the Thrive State Accelerator. It's the exact program I use to get my clients into the Thrive State. That's kianvu.com/accelerator, and use the coupon code podcast25 for 25% off. Thank you again for being a part of this journey and for listening to these podcast highlights. Get more content on my YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn at KianVuMD. Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe. And remember always, you are your best medicine.